Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Thunderstorm podcast. I'm Kaznarious, and with me is the nameless guest.
Yo.
Today, we are here to talk about the game that everybody in the gaming community has an opinion on: Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think we should save the story for last, even though there's not that much to talk about.
There's really nothing to talk about story-wise, to the point in which we don't even need to mention it. It's a Pokemon story.
Yeah.
I don't know. You fight some big Pokemon, then that makes the problem actually worse. Then you stop the problem by dealing with the legendaries. That's honestly kind of it. And then there's the post-game, which is just a guy is trying to summon another legendary and you stop him.
Nameless guest, you just spoiled the ending. You just
really
spoiled the ending for everybody coming in.
It's a Pokemon game. The story barely matters.
Well, we'll get back into that later. But
yeah.
For now, let's talk about... So, I had kind of a funny thought about this earlier, and that's that this game kind of feels like somebody wished for the open world Pokemon game, but they wished on it on a monkey paw.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, we'll give you your open world Pokemon game, but actually it's just in clusters, it's just in zones, which I don't mind, but you know, people do.
to a point, I actually kind of like the zones. I find it's actually a little more like condensed. Like you have a very large area to walk around and explore, but it's not like so large that it's annoying. I find most open world games, it's just there's a lot of traversal and it's just kind of boring a lot of the time. Like there's just a lot of boring traversal. And because of it being in zones, everything you can generally get from one side of the map and to another in like less than a minute. Well, maybe about a minute or two, I would say. Less than a minute's probably pushing it. And then obviously with fast travel, you can do that even faster.
Something our friend Pork Chopper is constantly be saying is, oh, they marketed this as an open world Pokemon game, and they gave us zones. And going through the game, I really don't think that takes away from the vastness and that exploration feeling you get going through it. I really don't think that feeling is detracted in any significant way.
No.
There's a lot to criticize about these zones. But
yeah.
I don't think not having that open world is inherently a bad idea or inherently a bad thing. Sorry if I'm cutting you off here, but I mean, the obvious comparison everyone's going to make here is to Breath of the Wild. I think honestly, going into this game, the first trailer of this game gave us that Breath of the Wild shot over the mountain, looking over like the scenery, and so it's inevitably going to be compared to it a lot, but I don't really think that's a fair criticism to say that the game is worse because it's not that. And
so in terms of the idea of false marketing, I don't know, the trailer shots showed mostly like game-like footage. They were probably touched up a decent amount, but for the most part, they weren't showing us anything that wasn't really in the game and the trailers, to my knowledge. So I haven't reviewed every trailer, so don't quote me on that. So you could say that people assumed it was open world, and thus they were falsely advertised too. But I'm pretty sure Game Freak, Nintendo, whatever, it was pretty early on we learned it was zones. Like, it wasn't like a big secret. It wasn't like they were hiding the fact that it was 5 zones instead of one big open world. So, I don't know. Anyone paying even the remotest amount of attention should have known. And thus, whatever. Also, open world is a meme that is honestly not as impressive as some people think it is. I don't know.
Well, very few games actually get it right. It's... Again, there was a point in time where every single game had to have an open world. And it feels like that thought of an open world Pokemon game kind of came from that era. I think, I don't know. Who am I kidding? There's probably even back in the N64 days where people were imagining this kind of game. Before we get into stuff like gameplay, I think it's worth talking about the technical side of things, because me and you aren't graphics hounds.
No.
One way or another, we both became graphics blind to this game probably within our first couple hours playing it. But a lot of criticism levied at this game is from the graphical perspective. And it has been before the game even fucking released, when people were running it on emulators.
Yeah,
So,
emulator shots, because of the finickiness of emulators, especially when they were like unmodded emulator shots, should have not been taken very seriously. But when the actual game came out, yes, it does not look impressive. In fact, I would generally say it looks kind of bad for a modern game.
absolutely. I think I watched a YouTuber who said that, you know, it's not necessarily the hardware you had to work with, it's your art style. A good art style could have carried the shitty textures you had and the world you were making a long way. And that's what pushed, again, Breath of the Wild. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to reference it a lot.
Yeah.
But it could have pushed it to be something better. And it does feel like a definite missed mark that the Pokemon series, that's such a fantastical setting, feels incredibly dull in a lot of areas.
Yeah. Well, in terms of like art style and stuff, to reference everyone's favorite game ever, Dark Souls.
That won't be the last time we reference Dark Souls today either.
I will always, yeah, no, oh yeah, boss fights. But Dark Souls is not a graphically impressive game. It wasn't a graphically impressive game at the time it came out, and it still isn't, obviously. But it still looks great because it has good like art direction and design and what's going on around you. And they don't have too many really ugly repeated textures everywhere, to my knowledge. Outside of like one area I can think of. But yeah, you can have like subpar fidelity but still like really cool art direction and be impressive in that sense. This game is not that. It has a lot of issues. The textures don't look very good, especially from afar. Like grass and trees are really bad. Pokemon models are actually decent. Like there's nothing really wrong with the models themselves.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
There is an issue in caves. There's like a weird outline on a lot of models.
Yeah, it's a white outline. It's incredibly noticeable every time you enter a cave, and it feels like a glitch. Like it does not feel like something that should be in a polished released game.
No, yeah, for sure.
Something is wrong when you see that, I believe. It just feels jarring, and it is what it is.
Yeah. So, and I mean, a lot of this, I think the game overall, I haven't compared them back to back, but I think it does overall look worse than Sword and Shield does. Sword and Shield always had good like human character models and Pokemon character models, but its environments were always lacking. But I never found them to be straight up super ugly outside of, you know, some of the trees in the wild areas. But again, I haven't really compared them back to back, so this could be me just... I liked Sword and Shield for future reference. I think the hate for it is massively overblown, but whatever.
I think I'm gonna throw this out here now, and I've mentioned it to you before. I think if this game came out before Sword and Shield, there would be a very different response on the negative end to this. And I think it's because Sword and Shield pissed off so many people in so many ways, from the Pokemon fans hating Dexit to the Pokemon detractors who hated it because it was the same kind of Pokemon game that we've had for 20 something years, which again, me and you don't have a problem with, but there's a lot of people who do.
Yeah.
that because of that, for years now, Game Freak's kind of been on the back foot with everyone criticizing everything that comes out. Everything should be everything is worth criticism, of course, but I feel like a lot of people would be more open to this type of game if that game didn't shit the bed in so many ways as it did. And again, I'm not calling that game a bad game, but it had a lot of things that made a lot of people angry.
Yeah.
That is unfortunately the legacy of Pokemon Sword and Shield, I think.
Yeah, Pokemon Sword and Shield is actually, so to get away from Arceus, I guess. Sword and Shield is a decent game. There's nothing like it's kind of like it's a standard Pokemon game. That's pretty much what I can say about it. And some people are getting bored with that, and that's fair. The big thing that pissed people off was the Dex cut. I think that if the Dex cut didn't happen, it would be viewed pretty much the same level as, I don't know, maybe like Gen 6, where people are like, they like it, but it didn't like wow them outside of, I guess, Gen 6 had Mega Evolutions, but that's pretty much it. You don't hear people talk about Gen 6 a lot. I hear talk about pretty much every other gen, but not Gen 6.
Funny, because that was like the first game that had 3D models, and 3D models for the whole cast, and I personally really like that. I have very fond memories of Gen 6 because of how good it looked compared to everything else. Yeah, going back to it, it looks like shit. It's like a shitty 3DS game, but for the time, I still remember. I still have a lot of nostalgia for that game, even if its story is dog shit.
No. I liked Gen 6. I just think Gen 6 is also just a very standard Pokemon game.
Sure.
If you remove Mega Evolution, it's a standard Pokemon game. There's nothing like that special about it. Mega Evolutions were its big thing, and they were good, and I'm a little annoyed that they're removed from future games, but whatever, that's a different topic.
I get
But back to Arceus, and Game Freak has people are very keen to criticize Game Freak right now.
Yeah.
And they deserve it to some extent. This game is technically very unimpressive.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it doesn't actually run that great.
I wanted to get back to the technical side of it, because I played this game undocked for, my first 10 hours. And then I came to your house, and I played it docked for the first time, and I'm like, this is awful. It is embarrassing how bad this runs on a TV. I could not believe that I was playing the same game.
Now I will point out something. I believe undocked, it is locked to a 30 FPS. So it may actually run better docked, but it has like notable frame drops where it goes from like 40 to like 30 kind of thing.
Okay.
And that is like a note. I don't know for sure. I haven't like hooked something up to test the FPS. I'm sure someone has somewhere. Yeah, I'm sure someone's done it, but I don't know anything about that. All I know is that I really wish Nintendo would let me play the undocked version while docked, because I don't like playing on the tiny screen, but I also don't want frame drops. They should just let me do that. And apparently they do, according to you, and I just need to go into the settings. I feel like that wasn't the case originally, but I don't know. I'll need to look into that. Anyway.
I think either way, if there's anything we can expect the bare minimum from this company, it's that your game should run a bit better than it is. When you're making billions of dollars. Yeah, just optimize your shit, man. Like that is a criticism that they deserve, and to a point, like it does make certain fights more annoying. I found the boss fight I did at your house incredibly more annoying than if I would do it undocked. I can say that because I didn't have no other fight in the game gave me as much trouble as playing it on your screen docked. I don't know if that's like a personal thing where I don't know, I just reacted differently to the way it was running, but
I wouldn't know.
I don't know.
But yeah.
Anyway.
So I don't know. There's not much more to say about it on a technical level. It looks subpar for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't run the best. It runs fine. Again, eventually I get used to whatever the issue I'm having is, and I don't even notice it. Like, I stopped noticing most frame drops eventually, or they just stopped happening. I don't know for sure. There was only like one particular moment in the game where I really noticed frame drops, and that was the final boss with one of its attacks caused too many particle effects. I think both me and you go graphics blind at some point where we just get used to it not looking great and just live with it and move on. But there are some people I see online that go like, I'm not paying X number of dollars for this game. It looks like total crap. And I'm like, all I can think is, all you're looking at it is like the surface level graphics. You're not looking at, is the game actually fun to play?
Yeah.
Because I'll play a PS2 game today. It doesn't bother me that it doesn't look great. Because it's still fun. I don't know.
Gameplay always trumps graphics, I think. Like, it's...
Oh, for sure.
I think that's... I think I would have a hard time finding somebody who doesn't agree with that statement, and I think it's just kind of strange to me. Again, it's because Game Freak is coming out of the woodwork, or Game Freak is on the back foot right now, that this kind of shit is levied at them. The same company that gave us the trees from Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
Enough defending them. Let's get into gameplay.
So I want to say like a general feeling I have towards this game.
Sure.
And it is a very similar feeling to what I feel for Breath of the Wild.
I agree. I think I immediately know what you're talking about without you saying it, actually. Yeah.
Well, the audience may not, so let me elaborate. Is that I like what it is. This is a good game that I enjoyed. But it is not what I came to Pokemon for, just like Breath of the Wild wasn't what I came to Zelda for.
Mm-hmm.
And I am worried that the thing that I like will be kind of like lost in the future games. Was that what you were thinking?
Yeah. The thing is, I often tell people, it's like, yeah, no, Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time, but I can admit that it's not the best Zelda game. Because it's not. It just isn't. Like, it does a lot of great things. It makes an actually interesting, inviting, and fun as shit open world to explore.
For a while.
I think for me that was a good while, just like this game. But
I got pretty bored of everything that wasn't like a shrine after a while, and then I got bored of shrines. But this isn't about Breath of the Wild, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, 120. You know what? Yeah, this isn't about Breath of the Wild. Point is, there is definitely a fear that this will influence the series, and at the same time, there's also a hope that this will influence the series.
Yeah, it's not like I want everything this game did to go away.
Yeah.
But let's get into what the game did so that people know what we're talking about.
So as like a, I want to say, umbrella term, I think the perfect Pokemon game takes elements from this and more elements from the last game, but like elements from this and mixes them.
For sure.
And that is, if that happens, like, I think you've made the best game in the series, no questions asked.
Yeah. So to actually talk about what this game does, I would say the big paradigm shift in this game is that previous Pokemon games had so much emphasis on battling, whereas this game has removed almost all emphasis from battling and moved it solely to catching.
I think there's like 10
Pokemon.
Sorry.
Yeah. Catching Pokemon is like the thing in the game. There's barely any battles. I think you were gonna say there's maybe like 10 mandatory battles.
Mandatory battles. Yeah.
Or like 10 trainer battles. There are like mandatory legendary battles, but those are still about catching the Pokemon. It's not really about, just beating them.
Yeah.
Catching has been like the thing in this, and it does it really well. I did enjoy running around catching tons of Pokemon, getting in like a small battle to lower their health, sneaking up behind them, sometimes just running through a bunch of them and not really caring, but you know, there's a lot going on there, and I enjoyed doing it. It was, I don't know, it was good.
I think when you combine that with the open world, it adds to it so much, because you want to explore and find a new region or like a new little area where you might find a cool encounter. Fable Lake or something like that comes to mind, like the weird mysterious little lake in the Mount Coronet region where there's like a bunch of Clefairies roaming around. I love shit like that. Like,
sorry, what I was gonna say, one of the best parts of the game is when you get to the new region and you just go off in a random direction going like, what Pokemon is over here?
Yeah, you do everything but the objective, and it's really fun. Like, it's, again, you become graphics blind and you're like, okay, if I go over here, what can I find over here? And it is the one part of this game that I really hope they do continue with going forward.
Yeah, the way they dealt with just random wild encounters. Basically, this game as a whole is basically what the wild area should have been in Sword and Shield. There should have been multiple wild areas with different biomes, with interconnected routes and cities and gyms. Like, that's how we're getting to like the perfect Pokemon game. Is you have these large areas, but you still have like linear trainer infested routes.
Yeah.
And you have like actually challenging gyms. This is how we're gonna do it. So this game does like catching very well. You go into the new area, you want to find new Pokemon because they're everywhere. What I will say is a failing is that the Pokemon aren't actually that interesting in the open worlds.
Yeah.
In the tutorial, they explain 3 types of Pokemon, which are ones that don't react to you, ones that run away, and ones that will fight you. And that's basically how all the Pokemon in the game react. They don't really do anything else. You won't like see a Luxray hunting a Bidoof. Like, that doesn't happen. The Pokemon don't interact with each other. They're just there for you to catch, and they only react to you. And that's a little lame. Like, it's a bit disappointing that they don't do anything else, but I don't know. We can give it to like as the first one in this style. I don't know. In future ones, maybe they'll actually program the Pokemon to have unique behavior in the environment. I hope they do.
It's a bad comparison, but again, Pokemon Snap, I can only imagine, takes so long to make because of all the weird ass animations you have of Pokemon just doing stuff. But like, that's the extreme end of the spectrum, obviously.
Well, Pokemon Snap is literally an on-rails experience. They basically have to program a cutscene around you that you can slightly interact with, whereas this one is basically open-world experience where it's much harder to have like dynamic AI that does stuff, and Game Freak, as we know, is a little incompetent. So there's that.
Having battles in the open world is really cool.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things, and I want them to do going forward forever.
Absolutely.
Beforehand in Pokemon, you would hit a random encounter, or in Sword and Shield, you would hit a random Pokemon, or you'd find a trainer, and it would like teleport you to the battle dimension.
Yeah.
It would always do this. I like this one where you just throw your Pokemon out, and the battle takes place where you're standing. It's great. I like it a lot. You can move during battle. It's a totally superfluous feature that doesn't matter, but you can do it.
I think it's really cool because it adds it just adds the sense of scale to the world. Like, you legitimately see your creatures in this world and like how big they are compared to each other, and like how big they are compared to like mountains and trees and shit, and it just makes everything so much faster. Getting in and out of a battle is not a chore anymore.
Yes, the animations for battles have been like so sped up. Battles are really speedy. I have actual issues with the battle system, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, but
Yeah.
the speed of which that happens in the open overworld is great, and I want them to keep it. They can easily do it with trainers. It doesn't it's not that hard to just to have the trainer stand there in the open world and throw out his Pokemon just like you throw out your Pokemon. So they can definitely do this in future games. It would also solve a problem in Sword and Shield. People had a big issue where when you were indoors and you got into a battle, it teleported you to like this white void.
White room. Yep.
Because they didn't have an environment to battle in for the indoor section. Well, they didn't have one for like every individual indoor section. And yeah, that would be hard to make for every single building. But if you just had it take place on the map, it would work totally fine. You would have to probably make it so battles don't actually take place inside of buildings, probably because buildings would have limited space, but whatever. You can easily work around that.
Yeah, and then there's the funniness of like you have the giant ass legendary, and it's like it's just towering over everything.
Oh yeah, no, this game definitely did Pokemon scale pretty well. In a lot of games, like you send out Wailord and Wailord's like as big as you are, when it should be like 50 times your size, which is probably why Wailord is not in this game.
I hope someday they pull that trigger and finally put him in.
Back in the Sprite games, it was fine, but they hit a big problem with Wailord in the current 3D space. He's just too big. But whatever.
Yeah, I loved getting big Pokemon. Like one of my favorite things to do was just go around the map catching alphas. Not just because that was like generally the most difficult sections of the wild area, but just because it's just fun to have a like big chonker, just throw out a big chonker. I kind of hated the legendaries horse forms, but seeing them come out and be like 3 times the size they are normally made me a little bit giddy. I really liked that. Scale is really good, and
that was definitely a thing that was a huge improvement over like other 3D games where the scale is fucked.
Yeah,
like constantly fucked. God.
Before we get into battle stuff, I do kind of want to sidetrack to music.
I mean, I found the music mostly to be pretty minimal. Occasionally, like a high energy track would play while I was exploring around. I was like, why is this high energy track playing? Nothing is happening.
I'm just walking around. Yeah, no, exactly. I found that the best parts of the soundtrack were when they brought back an old track and remixed it. Like how you like kind of hear that main melody in your town, and then as you progress through the game, you realize, oh, okay, this is the Jubilife theme. Like this is that song I heard from Pokemon Pearl. The Team Galaxy bass is the Pokemon Lab theme. Technically, it's like a bit of a different version of it, but like there's leitmotifs of it in there, and I just generally found that like every one of my favorite songs from this game were songs that they brought back, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a shame that all those songs that they brought out for the open world sections didn't really have that much of an impact or really add anything to the experience. I was just excited to get to the next thing. Like,
Pokemon has generally had decent music. Like a lot of town themes are quite nice throughout all the games.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a few that if I heard it, I would just be immediately filled with nostalgia.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the music is like when it's good, it's really good. But for the most part, it's pretty boring. Probably because they can't have like a big dynamic theme when you're in the overworld, because you might not be doing anything, and sometimes you don't want a big dynamic theme blaring in your ears as you're like casually exploring around the map.
Of course, that's again, the comparison is Breath of the Wild.
It's
It's those couple of keys that kind of
The
add
cat
to the
walks on.
ambiance, that kind of add to the atmosphere. And that's all they really need to do. Because they knew that the adventure itself was, it didn't need to be grand or epic. It just had to be subtle. And these tracks that they put in the overworld are not subtle, and they aren't really that pleasant either. But you know,
Well, generally it's pretty subdued, but then
Yeah.
there are just random times where it plays a pretty upbeat thing, and I'm like, what is this? Why is this playing right now?
yeah,
But that's pretty much my main complaint with the music, is that sometimes it plays a theme that's ill-timed, probably because there's something around you, but you're just not seeing it, and you're probably gonna just walk by it soon.
what I
But
will
yeah.
say is that I will probably never forget the alpha theme for the rest of my fucking life. Because, oh man, my first couple hours were just like, oh okay, what's this silly theme, and then I just get fucking tackled by like 7 different things, or like, I don't know, big fat Snorlax, the meme, the big fat Snorlax just kind of crushes you or whatever. I never ran into that guy in my first playthrough. Feels bad.
I mean,
My first playthrough of that section.
yeah. No, I definitely found that Snorlax much later. Well, I found it, but I didn't fight it immediately because I was like, that I'm not touching that right now. I came back later and it was pretty easy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I guess now we talk about battling.
Yes.
So battling is a distinct downgrades from what came before.
Mhm.
Pokemon's battle system is on the surface, so normal Pokemon, regular Pokemon's battle system on the surface is very simplistic, but there is actually a lot of hidden depth when you're against like an evenly leveled opponent kind of thing. This game removes basically all that depth, and the vast majority of the move pool, we went from like having over 500 moves to I think it's like 180 moves in this game, and you can really feel it on some Pokemon. Like the fact that there's no Earthquake for like physical ground types is a huge like what the hell.
I could not believe
love
that
it.
when you told me that. I was
Yeah.
so pissed.
No, it's really bad, especially since like my favorite Pokemon is a ground type and a physical ground type, so I just had to use Bulldoze for the whole game, which had its benefits because it slows the enemy, so I was able to like triple turn them sometimes. But so the big reduction in move pools make it so that some Pokemon just can't get the moves that they actually need. Basculegion, the new Pokemon in this game, its male form is a physical attacker, and it doesn't learn a single physical ghost, and it's a ghost type. And that just feels bad when you don't have a good stab of your primary attack. And then the removal of abilities is huge. Abilities add so much depth to Pokemon. The removal of held items, which held items don't really take much account in like the main game, but in like post-game stuff and online battling, held items are a huge deal. And then this game doesn't even have online battling, probably because this battle system has been simplified so much.
I wanna get back to the removal of abilities, because for those who don't know classic Pokemon, like there are some Pokemon that are like they literally are their hidden ability, like Shedinja. Shedinja. His whole thing is that you can't hit him unless you use a super effective move on him, but the trade-off is that he has 1 HP.
Yeah.
He's not gonna get hit unless you have that thing, but you design the strategy around that.
Yeah.
Pokemon like Gengar have a weakness against ground types, and they get absolutely fucked by them. But Gengar no longer has Levitate, but Gengar used to have Levitate, which nullifies ground types, and that completely nullifies a weakness it had. It really can't be understated how much you feel that missing gameplay mechanic
Oh yeah,
in this game.
my favorite Pokemon is Gliscor, and Gliscor's hidden ability is Poison Heal. That's what makes Gliscor good in a competitive sense, is that it has Poison Heal. If it didn't have Poison Heal, it really wouldn't be that good.
It's such an interesting little ability too. You have to that's you poison yourself and you get HP, right?
Yeah, you heal from poison, and it's twice the effectiveness of Leftovers, which is a health item, which is also gone.
That feels like such a janky. I know it isn't, but that feels like such a janky, interesting strategy just on a surface level of just like, yeah, poison yourself. It's good for you.
Yeah.
That's really cool to me. That's really cool that Pokemon lets you have that build, and yeah, I'm sure that really pissed you off not having it here.
Yeah, well, generally speaking, it's a hidden ability, so in normal runs of Pokemon, I end up just using the normal ability for Gliscor. But, I mean, that's minor. When I want to do competitive, that's when I get a hidden ability Gliscor. But all that really, like, hurts the battling. So now battling is just using super effective moves, and nothing else, basically. There are now moves with like special properties that like slow down the opponent so you can have multiple turns on them, because this game has a turn order instead of just being a speed priority system like the previous games.
Weirdly become Final Fantasy X, kinda.
Yeah, it's basically just an ATB system, but you don't actually have to wait. Which I prefer to actual ATB. Actual ATB gets annoying. And this is a neat system. I actually don't really mind this. I don't want it to stay. I want the normal Pokemon style back. But for like a one-game diversion, it was kind of neat to have turn order, because it was kind of fun to spam Bulldoze, which would slow down the opponent, and thus giving me more turns to use Bulldoze and slow down the opponent. You could build up a lot of turns that way. I know if your Pokemon is fast enough and you use like Agile Quick Attack, you can basically have infinite turns.
I was gonna say, going into this game, I figured their thought process was, oh man, if we just add in Agile style and Strong style, that'll be the compensation for all the shit we removed. Then there's the fact that, you know, when you're in a battle, when you KO a Pokemon, the next one they send out just automatically gets turn priority.
Yeah, I think if you're fast enough, it won't, but like, it's very rare that that'll happen. It almost always will go first, to the point which I don't think I saw it not go first.
I don't know. If they don't have, if they don't have turn priority, then I'd love to know how that system works, because like, again, there was just like so many times where it's like, okay, I killed your shit, and then you send out something that's super effective against that thing, and then it just immediately dies. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah,
that's just happening.
There's a lot of free revenge kills in this game, basically.
Yeah.
But that's only in trainer battles, of which there's like 10. Mm-hmm. So against normal, like, the system does work fine against random wild Pokemon. You would use Agile style to not KO them, and maybe give you an extra turn to throw the Pokeball. Or you would use Strong style because you just want them dead. It's fine. It actually works pretty well when you're just doing the simple act of catching Pokemon, which is what this game is about. When you apply it to like the real serious trainer battles, it kind of falls apart and is way worse than normal Pokemon. And I don't want it to stay. I want my old system back, because I just think it's better. And the old system is fine for catching Pokemon. There's nothing really wrong with the way it does it. The problem is just like screen transitions and the length of battles, which would be easily fixed, as we said, by just doing them in the overworld like this game does. That is a huge thing that this game should keep going forward. So yeah, basically battles suck, and this game doesn't put a lot of emphasis on battles, which is my big problem with it, is that I like Pokemon battles. I like having a challenging fight. Honestly, obviously most Pokemon games are actually pretty easy, so you don't really get that a lot of the time, but sometimes when you're a little underleveled.
Yeah, I never beat it, but apparently Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is the one everyone keeps referring to for the really big shit at the end of the game that really tests your skills. So,
Yeah, I heard that one does actually get pretty tough. I keep meaning to play it, but I've totally lost my DS
Yeah.
charge cable.
well,
Whoops. It's like $15. Anyway, so what other aspects of gameplay are there? There's catching
Well-
Pokemon, which we didn't actually go too much into detail, but there's not actually that much to it. You throw the ball, if you hit them from behind, you get a bonus. There's a few types of balls that give some advantages. And that's kind of it.
yeah, I mean it's it's simplistic enough that I don't really feel the need to get into it. Like,
Yeah.
it's automatically just, sometimes you'll find bushes and sneak around. I do like that there's like you can go for like sneak shots and stuff like that to help the capture rates. It could definitely be improved upon, for sure, but again, what it does pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So the next core bit of gameplay, because there's battling. There is traversal, where you get the basically ride Pokemon from
Mhm.
Gen 7, and it works fine. Obviously they can't plan for you riding every Pokemon in the game, so they just selected 5 that you will use to move around. It does suck that your own Pokemon don't really get to interact with the environment, but I understand why it's like this.
Just too many animations, probably.
Yeah, well, making a riding on the back of every, let's say, fully evolved Pokemon kind of thing, an animation for that would be ridiculous. Because there's a lot. But anyway, I mean, it's fine. On the traversal Pokemon, they do their job. They're nothing special. They're good. They get you places faster, and they get you places you can't normally get.
I would say that for a lot of them, I don't know, that and the general movement, it does feel kind of stiff at times. There is some weird climbing on Sneasler. I don't know how exactly to describe it, but my favorite thing ever is when I go to pick a mushroom that's right beside a tree, and I was a little bit off, and I summoned Sneasler to start climbing the tree for me. Well, thanks. I didn't really want to do that. I don't know.
I won't lie to you. That literally never happened to me.
Happened to me 5 times, my guy.
never happened. At no point did I accidentally pull out Sneasler and climb at a tree when trying to pick something up. I guess I'm just better at the game than you. But
yeah.
So I guess the last core thing is research. Getting the research levels. Because this is your core progression tool. The game will lock you out of going to the next area if you don't do this. Which neither of us faced, because we were both really thorough in getting our research levels up early on.
Well, yeah, because it was just fun to do shit in the world. So
yeah,
of course I'm gonna comb through as much as I can and catch as much as I can. And since the act of catching is so chill, it takes seconds. Of course I'm gonna catch an extra Bidoof for Ponyta or whatever on my way back. Why not? But
Yeah.
it is, it was always kind of strange to me. It wasn't until after I had actually played through the game that I heard people complaining that that it was so annoying that they had to get their star rank up to get to the next area, and that was just so foreign to me. I'm like, this is your open world Pokemon game, guys. Why aren't you exploring it?
Yeah, why are you beelining the story? Yeah, no. So getting the star rank early on doing the research, I found to be fairly enjoyable. It was catch a bunch of Bidoofs. Okay, I catch a bunch of Bidoofs. Oh, I also get some bonuses for taking some down. So I beat some. Sometimes I would find a Pokemon that was kind of annoying to catch, but I saw that if you used electric moves on it, you would get research, and also get research for defeating them. So I started defeating them with electric moves, and It was decent. I enjoyed filling out the checklist for a bit. But by end game, it is filling out checklists. So it does get kind of tedious and boring. Like, especially when you don't need any star ranks to progress the game anymore. So like when you're 7 and up, I think. Basically when you can, all Pokemon will obey you no matter what. It starts to get, like, I stopped caring a lot of the time, and I caught Pokemon because I could, and it gave me money, not necessarily because I really cared about the star rank that bit much. And after I beat the game, I caught all the Pokemon, I did like the end game stuff. I was like, okay, I'm rank 8 right now, and I'm almost at rank 9. So I got some of my legendaries out, and I used their like big super moves to, you know, get the research up, because I figured that would be the quickest way. And it was a very boring like 20 minutes of just killing Bidoofs with legendaries, which was kind of funny. Decimated that local population.
Yeah, fuck those Bidoofs.
And then I got to rank 9, and I saw how many points I needed to get to rank 10. And I was like, I'm not doing this. This isn't fun anymore. Probably because there was no extrinsic reward for me. I'm very extrinsically motivated. I like when there is a tangible reward. And there really wasn't one. Getting 10 in all Pokemon, like rank 10 research in all of them, will get you the shiny charm. But I don't care about shinies, so that's not much of a reward for me.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, filling it out in the beginning, I don't know why you'd be opposed to that or want to sideline it when it gives you stuff like Great Balls and Ultra Balls. Like,
yeah,
that helps you do the thing you're here to do, which is catch. But near the end, yeah, you definitely need to decide what your level of what your level of comfort is when it comes to how much you want to catch. Like, there is just a point where, yeah, you have to catch one of each, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people on both sides who would say it's not for me and it's not for us, but there's a lot of people that like that weird completionist thing, and that's neither of us, I think.
Yeah, I will basically the core gameplay of this, which is catching Pokemon, raising research levels, is really fun early on, especially because it was novel. I think novelty helped this a lot. Yeah. If there's another game that comes out that is exactly the same as this one, I don't think I will have nearly as much fun as I did in this. But it's fun early on, but by the end, it really does just feel like a chore, and I think at Area 5, for sure, I was like, I'm going to catch like one of each Pokemon for the full dex completion, and I'm not going to bother with research outside of things I just randomly get. And that's what I did. And I beelined the end of the game at that point, after I, caught them all, except for the legendaries, but, whatever. Which leads me to, if Pokemon games are going to be like this in the future, I think they need something more than just this, which would be interesting battling. Because, like, people complain about the modern Pokemon games, how their post-game is just the Battle Tower, but the Battle Tower is pretty fun. I like the Battle Tower.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I like making a fairly good, like, competitive team and running through the Battle Tower, fighting, like, actually difficult opponents that have strategies and stuff. It is way more engaging than, in the end game, all you have left to do is catch 10 Gallades. And catching 10 Gallades is not fun, because you either have to fight the same alpha over and over again, or you need to hunt down bags to get lots of Dawnstones. Like, that doesn't sound fun to me. Whereas interesting battles do sound fun to me.
Like, I'm trying to think of, like, you mentioned the Battle Tower, and I'm just thinking about, like, how much that wouldn't work in this game because of the lack of abilities.
Oh, no, this game can't have it. There's literally
just
nothing.
Can't. Yeah.
There's basically no strategy to this outside of use big moves, maybe like slow down your opponent's turn or speed up your own. Basically, you would use agile style if it gave you an extra turn immediately, otherwise you wouldn't bother. And you would use strong style if you firmly believed it would kill the opponent, without a doubt, kind of thing. That was pretty much the only strategy in the game, was that.
Yeah.
That and, you know, hitting super effective moves, which everyone knows. Having a well-balanced team, that's not even hard.
Mind you, there is another level of strategy that you do need to look out for, which is when there are multiple groups of Pokemon in a cluster that are trying to kill you.
Oh yeah, I did like that. I liked that it would occasionally throw multiple Pokemon at you, either in the wild because multiple Pokemon saw you,
yeah,
or just the trainers decided to cheat and use multiple Pokemon. I don't know why they do that, and I'm not allowed to do that, but whatever.
If that's the trade-off for difficulty of like a shittier battle system, is this other mechanic that everything can just group up on one guy, and now you need to like seriously consider like, okay, do I drag them out? Who do I send out? Like, who can tank the most damage in the first turn? That's the actual like big difficulty of this game, and those were actually some really fun moments. I'll admit that. Definitely pissed me off a couple times in the distortion rings, distortion zones.
Yeah,
definitely got pretty much KO'd a lot there, but yeah, pretty fun.
I don't have much more to say about gameplay. It was fun for a while, but it's not a game I really want to replay anytime soon, if ever. And it was an enjoyable, fresh experience that isn't what I want going forward, but I want them to take elements of it and move them forwards.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I can talk about some quality of life stuff that I liked. Being able to change your moves anytime, great.
Wonderful.
I love it. That should stay. You choose to evolve your Pokemon in the menu. I like that.
Yep.
It beats having to make your Pokemon hold an Everstone if you don't want them to evolve.
Yeah. How about Drowsy and Frostburn?
Drowsy's a little lame since it's basically just paralysis, but it doesn't make you slower. Like, that's what it is. You would just sometimes skip turns. So Drowsy felt pretty superfluous. I liked Frostbite because Freeze already felt superfluous since it was basically just sleep, but worse. But Frostbite is burn, but for special attack, and that is cool, and I like that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm surprised something like that didn't exist. Yeah, and you put it on the element that is the opposite of fire, which is kind of funny. Fire is hot, ice is cold. It works. I like it.
Yeah. It is funny that in the game that it has generally the shittier battle system, it still innovates in different ways, which is pretty cool.
I want them to keep Frostbite. Drowsy, I'm not sure about. It needs to differentiate itself from paralysis a bit more. I guess it would be that it doesn't slow down your Pokemon, but it has a higher chance of making them skip their turn. That might actually be how it's programmed. I don't know for sure. I would need to look that up. Either way, I guess it's still better than Sleep, which Sleep is so broken that, you know.
It's better than Sleep, and that's definitely a step in the right direction.
Fuck Sleep. Yeah, Sleep is really annoying. It's basically banned in competitive play. I mean, it's not. You can sleep one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you do any more, it's considered cheating. That's just how stupid Sleep is.
That's funny.
Well, it's just that in competitive battling, if you sleep your opponent's Pokemon, it's basically a guaranteed KO on them, unless they swap out. There's really nothing they can do.
Makes sense. I'm just laughing because this is new. Well, it's not new information to me, but I only learned about that like a couple weeks ago when you told me. So I'm familiar with competitive stuff, but I'm very familiar with battle tower stuff and trying to fuck around with abilities to beat it. But anyway, you were talking about quality of life improvements.
Yeah, so there were those two. Oh, the way that this game handles EVs, because there's such a low emphasis on just straight battling, EVs don't work like they used to. Or they may work like they used to, but they have a supplementary system. I'm not sure. But in this game, generally speaking, you get a consumable item that you use to increase your Pokemon's EVs. Which, for anyone who doesn't know, it's just a hidden number that increases your stats. This is very similar to how I want the EV system to be reworked. It's not quite what I want. I like in normal Pokemon, you have a limit on how many EVs you can put in. In this game, you can max out all of them, no problem. Like, you can just max out all the stats, and thus there's no reason not to max all the stats. Unless you were going for a Trick Room setup, but this game doesn't have Trick Room, so there is no reason not to max all the stats. But whereas in normal Pokemon, you have to pick and choose what stat is worthwhile compared to the others because you have a limited number of EVs. It's good for this game because of how it works with battling and stuff. It's not like a big deal, so having the EVs just be kind of a simple you buff your Pokemon is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't want it to continue though.
I think it should be noted just the evolution of how you've obtained EVs in the past. Like, it used to be, oh, you want attack EVs, you have to kill this one, you have to kill Machops, and you have to kill about
55.
Exactly. Now there were ways to negate that. There were things that doubled that number, but you have to constantly do that for like hours. And then it's the same for every other stat. In Gen 6, there was a stupid soccer ball mini game for you to get EVs. This is, again, definitely a step in the right direction. I don't think it's very nice to keep that hidden number hidden from players. Yeah, I think it should definitely... If it's more accessible to everybody else, that just evens... Okay, it doesn't really even the playing field, but it gives newer players like a better understanding of how that system works, and that's just a good thing for everybody.
If I were to improve the EV system, what I would do is I would have it when you defeat Pokemon, you gain EVs like you already do, but you gain raw EVs. They're not assigned to any stat. They're a raw number, and then you
allocate
player,
that shit.
Yeah, you the player allocate it however you want.
Yep.
That, and then there's like, just like how there's like the move deleter and the move reminder, there's a character that will
EV resetter
do that. Yeah, there's an EV resetter. He'll have a better name than that, especially since if they're making it a visible mechanic, they would probably change the name.
Yeah.
Actually, they might still call them effort values. Maybe effort points. Maybe EPs is what they'll be called. That's kind of what I want. Alternately, instead of it being based on Pokemon you defeat, you could just gain a set amount per level, and then you max out your EVs at, let's say, level 75 instead of 100, because having to get all your Pokemon to level 100 to get all the EVs for competitive would be a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
I could see that working too. It would save you from just having to beat up a bunch of random Pokemon to get things. Although you're going to have to beat up Pokemon anyway to level up, so it doesn't really matter. There being just a quick and easy move tutor in town that just takes money instead of a stupid item like a heart scale or shards is super nice. Like, there's a lot of little things that I like, but like none of them are like big enough on their own. What other little things are there in this? Clothing sucks in this game. Like, clothing options are terrible. There's like 3 shirts that come in like 70 colors, and 3 pants that also come in 70 colors, and then maybe like 5 full outfits that you can't mix and match of. You just have them. It's really lame. And also male and female have the exact same customization options, but in like a boring way. It's not like a male character can wear like the female clothes kind of thing like they can in, I don't know, Animal Crossing. It's literally just that there is nothing unique to either of them that looks interesting at all.
Yeah.
It's all painfully boring.
By the end, I was just picking the fucking Team Diamond outfits. I hate everything. Oh no.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
what is there an option for? Like, who wanted the stupid suit? I'm sorry.
yeah,
Like,
the suit looks bad.
it doesn't even. Like, why is it in this time frame?
The suit
Time
as well.
period.
The suit is fine. I mean, the professor's kind of wearing a suit underneath his lab coat. I think.
Okay. Okay. Maybe.
It's at a time period where, like, the technology level would be like where Japan is meeting up with other cultures, such as like England or something, and thus those kinds of suits would maybe be going there. Is I think the kind of time area they were going for. I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't matter. Side quests. We have not talked about the side quests in this game.
Well, I don't have much to say about them because I kind of dozed off and didn't do them.
Yeah. I did a fair number of them. And overall, I kind of liked their little, like, the little stories that were there were, like, enjoyable. Where, like, you talk to an old woman who has, like, a Chimecho hanging out by your house, and she's like, I'm a little, like, everyone's scared of Pokemon in this game for some reason, so she's like, I'm uncomfortable having this Chimecho there, but it doesn't seem bad. Can you find it a new home? And you just go over the place and try to find new homes for it, and in the end it just lives with the old lady because she learned to accept it or something. It's a fun little story. It's nothing deep or special, but I kind of liked it. But my reward was shit. The rewards for, like, all of them are garbage.
I think that's why I stopped doing them.
Yeah. Outside of the few that give you evolutionary zones, because there are a few that do that. And some of them give you, like, rare candies and stuff, which is nice, but it's not, like, huge. At no point, the main ones I did were the ones that upgraded the clothing store, because I was like, will they finally get something cool? They never did.
Nope.
And the ones that upgraded the general store, because why wouldn't I want more items in the general store, even though I basically never bought anything from the general store. Oh, and upgrading the farms, but upgrading the farms was just giving them a Pokemon of a certain type. Well, like, there's some fun little side quests of, like, the story is kind of fun, but nothing big. Pretty boring overall.
Yeah.
Pretty underwhelming.
I think it's pretty bog standard for your Pokemon story. Minus the now and then darker themes it kind of goes into, which is, neat. It's neat that, like, one of the first things that they say to you is you'll be exiled from the village and subsequently be left to die in the wilds. Like, they try to paint this picture of this Pokemon world being
harsh.
Well, harsh. It's wild. It's primal. It's not tamed yet. And that's what it is. Pokemon regularly attack you, and it's cool. It paints the setting. Again, there's still a lack of animations that I think properly convey that setting.
Okay. Well, now we're talking about the main story, not the side quests.
You're right.
So
yeah,
let's talk about the main story.
Yes.
I mean, I already basically went over it. There's really not much to it. But yeah, you're right. The way that the story is presented is pretty lame a lot of the time. It's mostly just big dialogue, text boxes. There's no voice acting, which I'm fine with. I actually like that there's no voice acting. Some people really hate that there isn't. I've heard multiple complaints online where people are like, it's 2022. You should have voice acting in your game, god damn it.
I am completely indifferent to it.
Yeah.
And it would not have made the game better. I can tell you that. It would not have made any of the story beats any more interesting.
No, not at all. I don't care. I'm actually completely fine with Pokemon being silent. Sure. I think there are moments, like, in Sword and Shield where the guy is singing, but like there's literally no voice of him singing.
Yeah.
That's really bad, and there should have been like a voice track for that.
Mm-hmm.
But the general dialogue, I'm fine with it being silent. It doesn't bother me. I don't know. It's just a really pointless. It's a small complaint that I see people have that they make to be a much bigger deal than I think it is.
I agree with that.
The big issue, I would say, with the way the story presents everything is when a non-standard action happens.
Yes. Well, that's not my biggest issue, but continue.
It's one of mine because
Sure.
it's really lame.
I agree. Yeah.
Is that whenever there's a non-standard action, such as, I don't know, when the commander does a sumo throw, or
he sumo throws you in particular. That's the first thing he does. It's like, yeah, come at me, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then the next thing that happens is a sound effect plays and you're on the ground, and it's like, hold on, did we just fight him? Is that what happened?
Well, okay, that one in particular isn't that bad, because it could be that, you know, you got thrown into a wall, you're a little dazed, and you're not really thinking straight.
Sure.
In that particular case. But a later case when he sumo throws the two leaders, and he's like, he basically goes like, I'm gonna sumo throw you, and then the screen cuts to black. It plays the sound effect of an attack move, and then it shows the two leaders afterwards going like, damn, he really sumo throwed us.
Yeah, it is a bit pathetic. I will admit that. Oh,
this happens like constantly whenever
all the fucking time.
Like a weird, like, it's like, I don't know, this Pokemon, like, it did something strange. It did a backflip and shot a berry at a tree, and the game just tells you that happens, but it cuts to black and it plays a little sound effect to imply that it happened, but it never actually shows it. The only thing the cutscenes ever really show you are characters standing still, talking, and making some generic emotes, basically.
One of the worst ones happened when I was at your house. When Crasher Wake's ancestor is like, I'm gonna jump off this iceberg. You better not do this yourself. And then it cuts.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Like, what the hell, man? No.
You easily could have just had him jump off screen, but not actually show us him falling.
Yeah.
And it would have been better than what we got.
You could have put that camera at an angle where, okay, you don't need to make a jump animation. You could just like kind of have his model go up a little bit from a certain angle, and it'll kind of look like a jump. But no, it's shit is lazy as fuck sometimes, and it's
the way everything is presented is pretty meh.
I found one of the things I find the most egregious about the story actually is how much time it actually takes you to get into your first area. All the introductory shit I felt took way too long, and I don't know why, every time I sat down at a table with the, I guess, rival, the other gendered person, and the professor, I was like, oh god, like, these conversations are supposed to be endearing, and they're telling me about the world, or they're telling me about how cool I am for catching Pokemon, and I just never gave a shit. And it just takes like way too long, way too long at the beginning to actually get into that open world. And I think that's a huge sin for a game like this, personally.
I find people tend to overstate the length of openings. I mean, I can say that because
there's the Skyrim meme, of course.
The Skyrim meme.
You were trying to cross the border. I never forget.
I've played Persona 3, and that shit doesn't get going for like 4 hours.
Persona 3. How about Persona 4? My God. God damn.
Persona 4 is a little faster.
Is it? Doesn't feel faster.
Persona 3 gets into its first battle faster, but it takes a lot longer to get to like actually Tartarus, I believe. It doesn't
True.
matter. So I don't know. My tolerance for like a slow early game is actually pretty high. That this didn't bother me at all. And most of the dinner table conversations, they came after like a huge play session in the open world most of the time. So they also didn't bother me because they happened like right after I finished a big area, and it was just the transition to the next big area. I don't know. This I found pretty minor, perfectly honest.
I think,
But there is a lot of wasted time.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
One of the problems I felt with the story was that obviously it's your generic Pokemon story through and through. You do a couple things, you adventure through the world, and then eventually shit all hits the fan and it goes from fucking 10 to 100 in a second and big legendary boss fight. I think what I'm going to remember this game for was the fact that I wasn't necessarily interested in any of the characters. I was more interested in, oh, hey, I wonder who that person is related to.
Oh yeah.
That was like way more interesting than like actually listening to like anybody. Including the Crasher Wake guy, who should be really fun to be around.
Yeah. Picking out all the ancestors was definitely one of the funner parts of the game. Or funner parts of like its story presentation stuff was meeting a new character and going like, now who are you?
Yeah. Who are you related to? What Pokemon do you have? Let's start there, yeah.
I mean, a lot of them you can tell just by the way they look.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first warden you meet with the Munchlax looks exactly like a character from Gen 4.
Mm-hmm.
She's like a partner character who like you double battle with. Like she's on your side, double battle with.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the Shaman event. I forgot. Doesn't matter. And then the second warden you meet, the one in charge of Cleavor, he's like a child version of the like cowboy ground type
the
gym
cowboy
leader
miner guy from the Rock City, yeah.
Yeah. And like that was cool. I liked seeing that just because it was kind of fun to go like, who the hell are you?
It is fun. It's just like I feel like that was the most interesting part of like any of the characters.
Oh, for sure.
Minus
no
like
was really interesting.
minus like Komoda? I always forget his fucking name. The commander.
Yeah.
And Volo. And maybe Kagita. Kagita was kind of weird too. She was neat. Everyone else is like, yeah, I know you. You're gonna tell me to do something. I'm gonna help you, and then we're gonna be on our way. I think it's part of my headcanon that the reason I couldn't think of anyone who is Melly's ancestor is because nobody wanted to fuck Melly, and his bloodline ended there because he is just a prick.
Yeah.
Side note, I have a weird endearment to the character Melly just because he is such a fucking asshole and he hardly has a character. He does, I would say he doesn't have a character arc, and even after you help him, he sticks to his guns and calls you an asshole. I kind of like the consistency. That's just me. I bet a lot of people hate him. I loved to hate him.
I'm sure a lot of people really hate Millie. He's just really funny though.
I find it funny how much of an asshole he is, but not in like the he's so smart, but just like you are wrong. Everything about you is so wrong, and you are so in the wrong. But that's kind of why I love you. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about spoilers now. I'm going to move this probably earlier in the recording. Spoilers from here on in. Yeah. How much do we want to get into the story? Because, I mean,
there's not much to talk about.
There's not really not that much to talk about. You know, there's a classic heel turn from everyone who I thought there would be a heel turn from Volo's got a stupid fucking haircut.
Well, it's meant to look
Sorry.
like Arceus.
Yeah, I know what it is. It still looks fucking dumb.
Yeah, Volo's thing is weird. He wanted to see Arceus.
I mean, you know, if you compare that to like actual religious zealots, I guess he's like the Jehovah's Witness of this game. I don't know if that's the weird. I don't know if that's like the weird like comparison they're trying to make. There's like a weird guy who's just like weirdly, because for all intents and purposes, Arceus is God, right? It's the god of Pokemon. So
Yeah.
it's like, I want to meet my god. I am going to do everything to try and meet my god. He acts kind of weird. The commander acts kind of weird. And surprise, surprise, both of them kind of betray you. There's not really that much to be said past there, right? Like, it's...
Yeah, no. There's nothing to talk about in this story. I guess the main thing to talk about is the only 6 Pokemon trainer battle, technically 8 Pokemon trainer battle, against Volo. This is the quote-unquote hardest thing in the game that I have seen people online say is very difficult when it is actually incredibly easy.
Well, I didn't find it incredibly easy, but I will say that the fight for me was definitely harder because I was trying to get all my Pokemon's HP back up because I thought I was supposed to catch Giratina there, and it's just, hey, just kill it. Oh, all right. Well, and then I just owned Giratina.
Yeah.
But with that said, fucking great last battle. Holy shit, the presentation of that entire thing is magnificent, I'd say.
No. It's definitely one of the peaks of the game.
Again,
especially since it is just the longest, hardest fight in the game.
Mm-hmm. Again, the piano part that you recognize immediately is the song that plays before you fight Cynthia, and it always felt kind of like, what's the word? It was more menacing, really, than like what Cynthia was all about. Like, Cynthia's just kind of like the champion who kind of helps you, and like, yeah, she's difficult, but like, it always to me kind of like weirdly seemed out of place. But like, it is so satisfying how much it fits this character, this weird religious zealot of like this, I don't know, I'm not a music guy, but like this just this piano going absolutely ham as this asshole just like weirdly cackles and like gives you this weird ass smile. It's great. And again, really great music placement. Those remixes of the Giratina fight, when you don't expect a second form to come out. Wonderful presentation. Again, this is the classic Pokemon saving all their shit to like the last hour and then it blowing you away. Wonderful fight.
Yeah, no. I liked that. I wish the main like campaign had ended in a way more similar to that, where
Yes.
it was an actually challenging Pokemon fight.
Yes.
I don't think that fight was that challenging, but I was over leveled, so you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas I get the big gameplay thing we never talked about was boss fights. The
What's
main
to
story
talk about?
the main story ended with the boss fights we've been having throughout the game, which are pretty meh overall. Like, I'm not super impressed. It's kind of a fun change of pace, I guess, but it's not like that fun a change of pace. But in terms of story, that's pretty much all I have to say. Really, there's not much to say about it. Did you have anything else to say?
The theme was Pokemon are dangerous, and like, I guess gameplay wise, I mean, that's not the main theme, but like a lot of the problems in the village are Pokemon are dangerous. How do we deal with them? And I liked that yeah, if you go out in the wild and you fuck around, Pokemon are dangerous. They'll fight you. They will try to hit you. And that's cool that the gameplay shows that and solidifies that, but yeah, there's overall like this game is never it's another fucking Pokemon story. I know you disagree with this. I'm just gonna state this for the record. I think if there was a time to bring back the apprehension towards putting Pokemon in balls, that plot point, this or another game like this would probably be the time to bring that back, since these are the first Pokeballs ever being made. I know they already did that, but having that theme again with like a group of people rather than like this one rogue person who's like who's in a world that already knows like putting Pokemon in balls is okay, that like disagrees with him. I feel like it would be different. I don't really.
I mean, I definitely disagree with you. It's primarily because they have brought that up and they have answered it. I mean, they answered it in that Pokemon and humans living together through the use of Pokeballs is good, as long as the people don't abuse the Pokemon. Basically, it was part of Gen 5's thing. So they have answered that question definitively. They have stated that, basically. So there is no need to bring it up again.
I would say the need to bring it up again would be they answered it 15 years ago. Or fucking how long was it? A long ass time ago. I don't know.
I don't know. It's retreading. It's just asking the same question again, and Pokemon already retreads the same ground too much. We don't need to retread more ground, especially one of the things that made Gen 5 pretty unique.
I think there's a different way that you could answer that question, but then again, I'm asking for a more interesting story from a fucking Pokemon game, so
yeah,
I really should level my expectations there, I suppose.
So now that we're done talking about story, because I can't think of anything more, I guess we should just quickly address boss fights.
Sure.
In more detail.
Yeah.
Because we kind of missed over it. The boss fights are, you throw shit at the boss till it goes down. You actually don't even need to fight it with a Pokemon. That's just how much this game de-emphasizes battling. Is you actually don't have to battle the bosses with Pokemon. It is really weird. I feel like you could have the action segments and the battle segments work better than they currently do. Because right now, you battle the boss in order to get an opportunity to throw shit at it. Whereas
it just feels wrong. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, from you know, the perspective of you using your team of Pokemon that you've like trained up to like help you to fight this boss. Like, you don't have to ever use them. It just kind of feels wrong thematically about a game that, like, you know, people learning to, you know, coexist with these things. That, oh fuck that. You're just a little kid with a bunch of magic pouches. Just throw them at the fucking giant Pokemon and you're good.
Yeah. What I would do is, instead of having it so what I was saying of where you use your Pokemon in order to get opportunities to throw shit, you make it so you have to throw shit at the boss in order to get them in a state where you then fight them with the Pokemon, kind of thing. And you would maybe do that a few times. So like you would throw balls until like their magical aura went away, and then you could fight them with your normal Pokemon. And when you win that battle, it would get rid of one of their health bars, and they have a few health bars, and they would have different tactics for each health bar kind of thing. The boss would anyway.
The third-person action should be the catalyst for the RPG stuff, not the other way around.
Basically, yes. Alternately, get rid of the third-person action stuff because it really wasn't that fun. Like, they basically were trying to be like a third-person shooter Dark Souls.
Say it. There we go.
Because that's what it was. You were in an arena with a big enemy that
We
like
have all-
swung at you. You iframed through roll. You iframe roll through stuff.
Playing the Dark Souls with Pokemon games.
Shut up! I don't want to say that. That's kind of what it felt like.
It's true.
And I was like, what am I doing here? You honestly could have removed that entirely and made an interesting boss that used the mechanics of the game. In the game, there can be multiple enemies, and you can target between them. So why not make it so that the boss Pokemon, you can like target its limbs in order to knock it down and make it more vulnerable to your normal attacks. Let me have multiple Pokemon out for the boss fight kind of thing. So that is more like a traditional RPG battle where I have like a team all at once against a big thing. You have a turn order list. If you have a turn order list, you can give me multiple things to use at any given time.
Yep.
I don't know why they didn't do that. They easily could have made interesting boss fights, and instead they gave us really boring third-person action game stuff. Like, most of the patterns are super easy to dodge. It's not very interesting. I only died to one boss, and it was the last one, and it was because it caused frame stutters, which ate my inputs. Also just had way too much health, but that's a different thing. Yeah.
I will disagree with you that the fights felt boring. It could just be that I'm shittier at these games, but I did... Okay, Cleaver was fucking boring. Lilligant was pretty boring. At Voltorb, I started having a bit of fun with them. I'll say that. Even though the Voltorb fight seems kind of bullshit because of that one homing ball that feels like you should be able to make it go away, but it doesn't go away. I don't know. I think it's all right. Again, part of me has to wonder if the purpose of all this was to service the people who are like, oh, Pokemon's combat never changes. It's the same for 25 years. It never innovates. So it's like, okay, fucker, here's your third-person shooter.
Which, I mean, never innovates is totally wrong. I can think of basically an innovation in basically every game.
That's true.
Like,
that's actually true, yes.
Gen 1 introduced it. Gen 2 split special attack and special defense, and probably added a whole bunch of stuff, like a bunch of held items. Gen 3 added abilities. Gen 4 had the physical special split. Gen 5 had... What did Gen 5 had? Hidden abilities were added in Gen 5.
Yep. Not to mention, different battle. There were triple battles, even if that wasn't necessarily the best thing. But I mean, it tried different things.
Yeah. Gen 6 had Megas. Gen 7 had Z moves,
yeah.
And the new one has Dynamax. Those last ones are very gimmicky in compared to the previous 5, which were like core system changes or creating the system. But like, Pokemon, its combat has changed. On its base level, it's still very simple because it's still a game for children. So it needs to be simple.
Yeah.
But it's still good, and it really doesn't need to be removed. And you can expand on it. You could have real boss fights in Pokemon where you have multiple Pokemon out and the boss has like mechanics to it. But Game Freak doesn't want to do that. The closest we got was the max raid battles in Sword and Shield. And if I could do those alone with 4 of my own Pokemon, I think I could have some fun with that. It would be pretty simple, but I would have some fun with it. Having to do it with NPCs is fucking awful.
No, I think there's a lot of directions the series could definitely go in, and I think this game showed us a very interesting direction it could potentially go in. Like we've both said before, this plus our last games has the possibility of making the best Pokemon game ever made. And I really hope that Game Freak doesn't kowtow to the people who want this weird this weird third-person shooter shit, because at the end of the day, you're just really sacrificing that core wonderful battle system that has been great since 1995 and is still great. For the real boys.
Was it an issue I guess I have throughout the game is that in previous Pokemon games I would like have a team, right? That I would use for pretty much the whole game. In this game, I still had that team, but I didn't really care about them in the same way I do in a normal one, because I just didn't use them that much.
True.
Like, I didn't have to fight a lot of things, so I never really felt attached to the Pokemon I had because I didn't really use them. It was really lame in comparison to how it used to be. There is a blending that needs to happen. You don't need to remove this core Pokemon experience. But you can still have all the improvements that Arceus Legends brings. What Game Freak needs to do, what I think the next Pokemon really needs, is high ambition from Game Freak. That's pretty much it. I don't think Pokemon ever really needed to change. It just needed to do what it does better. And now we can add in this stuff. They tried something new. They should take what they learned from that new thing and apply it to what was really good previously. And then we'll have a great game, as long as they're willing to put in the effort. They need high ambition. I really hope that we are recording this the day before a Nintendo Direct, and I really hope that Gen 9 is not announced tomorrow.
Dear God.
Because it is kind of within the time frame for them to announce Gen 9 and for it to come out in like November of this year. This would have to assume that they maybe split the Game Freak team between two games at once for Arceus Legends and Gen 9. But I don't want to hear anything about Gen 9 till 2023. But we'll see. This video will obviously come out after the Nintendo Direct, so you'll know if I'm crying or not. You'll know.
I'd like to get some closing thoughts, just to wrap all this up. Nameless Guest. This is a good game, right?
Yes, it is a good game that is worth playing, is worth purchasing if you like Pokemon.
We're hypercritical of it because we've been here since the beginning, and we've been hypercritical of everything past the point where we could start being critical of things. Because obviously, there's a lot of nostalgia when you get... Dude, the first time I fucking met you, I saw you playing Pokemon Pearl on the playground.
Hell yeah.
Like, that was our first interaction. Like, that's our childhood, and it's just... Of course, we're going to be critical of this, and of course we're going to have expectations for the rest of the series. So, and that's why this is such a fun topic, I think, to think about.
I can talk about Pokemon for hours. So.
I was gonna say, a lot of this might seem like us nitpicking, but I do think we had quite a bit of fun with this. But it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. Dear God, we better not get Gen 9 on that Nintendo Direct.
Watch it happen. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get the first forms. That's what's gonna happen.
I have been Kaznarious. With me has been the Nameless Guest.
Yo.
And we'll see you next time.